Good evening and welcome back to another episode of The Longing, where today we are going to be continuing to read The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. So, let's get going. That's true, he answered. It's a queer place. Seems to me as if there'd been a bit of pruning done here and there, later than 10 years ago. But how could it have been done? Said Mary. He was examining a branch of a standard rose, and he shook his head. Aye, how couldn't it? He murmured. With door locked and the key buried. Mistress Mary always felt that, however many years she lived, she should never forget that first morning when her garden began to grow. Of course, it did seem to begin to grow for her that morning. When Dickon began to clear places to plant seeds, she remembered what Basil had sung at her when he wanted to tease her. Are there any flowers that look like bells? She inquired. Lilies at Valley does, he answered, digging away with a trowel. And there's Canterbury bells and campanulas. Let's plant some, said Mary. There's lilies at Valley here already. I saw 'em. They'll have growed too close and we'll have to separate 'em. But there's plenty. T'other ones takes 2 years to bloom from seed, but I can bring you some bits of plants from our cottage garden. Why does they want 'em? Then Mary told him about Basil and his brothers and sisters in India, and of how she had hated them, and of their calling her Mistress Mary quite contrary. They used to dance round and sing at me. They sang, Mistress Mary quite contrary, how does your garden grow? With silver bells and cockle shells and marigolds all in a row. I just remembered it, and it made me wonder if there were really flowers like silver bells. She frowned a little and gave her trowel a rather spiteful dig into the earth. I wasn't as contrary as they were. But Dickon laughed. Eh, he said, and as he crumbled the rich black soil, she saw he was sniffing up the scent of it. There doesn't seem to be no need for no one to be contrary when there's flowers and such like, and such lots of friendly wild things running about making homes for themselves, or building nests and singing and whistling, does there? Mary, kneeling by him, holding the seeds, looked at him and stopped frowning. Dickon, she said, you are as nice as Martha said you were. I like you, and you make the 5th person. I never thought I should like 5 people. Dickon sat up on his heels as Martha did when she was polishing the grate. He did look funny and delightful, Mary thought, with his round blue eyes and red cheeks and happy-looking turned-up nose. Only 5 folks as the likes, he said. Who is the other 4? Your mother and Martha, Mary checked them off on her fingers, and the Robin and Ben Weatherstaff. Dickon laughed so that he was obliged to stifle the sound by putting his arm over his mouth. I know thee thinks I'm a queer lad, he said, but I think thou art the queerest little lass I ever saw. Then Mary did a strange thing. She leaned forward and asked him a question she had never dreamed of asking anyone before. And she tried to ask it in Yorkshire, because that was his language, and in India a native was always pleased if you knew his speech. Does thee like me? She said. Eh, he answered heartily, that I does. I likes thee wonderful, and so does Robin, I do believe. That's 2 then. That's 2 for me. And then they began to work harder than ever, and more joyfully. Mary was startled and sorry when she heard the big clock in the courtyard strike the hour of her midday dinner. I shall have to go, she said mournfully. And you will have to go too, won't you? Dickon grinned. My dinner's easy to carry about with me, he said. Mother always lets me put a bit of something in me pocket. He picked up his coat from the grass and brought out of a pocket a lumpy little bundle tied up in a quite clean, coarse, blue and white handkerchief. It held 2 thick pieces of bread with a slice of something laid between them. It's oftenest naught but bread, he said, but I've got a fine slice of fat bacon with it today. Mary thought it looked a queer dinner, but he seemed ready to enjoy it. "Run on and get the victuals," he said. "I'll be done with mine first. I'll get some more work done before I start back home." He sat down with his back against a tree. "I'll call Robin up," he said, "and give him rind bacon to peck at. He likes a bit of fat wonderful." Mary could scarcely bear to leave him. Suddenly it seemed as if he might be a sort of wood fairy gone when she came into the garden again. He seemed too good to be true. She went slowly halfway to the door in the wall, and then she stopped and went back. "Whatever happens, you never would tell," she said. His poppy-coloured cheeks were distended with his first big bite of bread and bacon, but he managed to smile encouragingly. "If there was a missel thrush and showed me where thy nest was, does thee think I'd tell anyone? Not me," he said. "Thou art as safe as a missel thrush." And she was quite sure she was. With that, we're actually going to come to the end of reading, because I do need to revert time just a little bit more now that we've come to a nice end of a chapter. So I am going to do that very briefly. And yeah, this is what we're gonna do very quickly. Just so that we've got a bit more time to play with going forwards. We don't have to worry so much about the time running low. It just gives us that little extra leeway, just in case we don't find a good spot to stop in the future. Still going back. I thought it stopped. There we go. It has stopped now. Let's get another blue fire going. I wonder what happens with the idle reading when time is reversing. It's not quite clear. Well, we're not quite going to make it on this particular blue fire. I could have been a little quicker if I'm completely honest. Maybe we'll make it. It's going to be close. We're going to be close enough that it's not going to matter. There we go. Okie dokie. Oh no, we don't need to start another blue fire. We are going to take a seat. Yeah. And we are pretty much there for the end of the episode, to be quite honest. And yeah. We will be calling the episode there pretty much. And I had things to say and I've already forgotten them in the last 10 seconds. So never mind. We will continue this reading tomorrow. So thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you all have a wonderful morning, evening, afternoon or night. No matter what time of day it is, I hope you all have a wonderful one of it. And as always, we will be back tomorrow for more of The Longing. Goodbye.